So, how do you take a case? Which is your method, which seems important to you?
It is. So, I don't think that you can reduce it to few words. First of all, I think that a good case taking is the first important part of our work. Let's say even more of any work as a doctor. I say this because I'm absolutely convinced that from the existence of man until now, you can see on this planet very different kind of medicines. Approach to the idea of healing which can look completely different from the scratch. At the end, the only thing which is in common is that you have a patient, somebody who thinks that he is unhappy or sick or sad, whatever you want, and somebody else who is thinking that he can do something for this person. Okay, very basic. If this interaction is working, this is a wonderful start. Which is not the only thing which is curing at all, I don't say this, but is the basis of a possible relationship that by itself has a great impact on you as a doctor and a great impact on the patient. And I think that this is not underlined enough in our homeopathic culture. Or at least say that if you take a look to what many schools are underlining, if you give a look to what is going on even in our hypothetical community, it seems that we have more a kind of attitude to defend ourselves from the constant attack from the world around homeopathy, trying to focus our work on the remedy, instead of understanding that the prescription, the homeopathic prescription, the substances, the remedies that we use is a part, is not the entire part of our work. So I think that we cannot put out from our relationship with our patient the remedy. I think that this is a unique substance, which is the homeopathic therapy.
You were one of the first homeopaths, after my opinion, thinking in family themes. How did you develop it? What's the idea behind?
Oh, there was not an idea behind. It was a very practical development of thinking. First of all, coming back to what I told you before, I was disappointed. I remember the first classes that I attended already years ago, many years ago, when I found out this kind of stress on analyzing in the literal way the meaning of this symptom. Let me say, without any presumptuousness, that I think that this is very productive, not to say stupid, because again, patients talks in terms of metaphors. So the same pain, the same concept can be expressed through many synonyms, through many different perspectives of the same pain, of the same problem. I say this because, of course, our repertory is redundant of information, and it is normal that you need to reduce it to whatever is important. What is much more important is that certain ideas, certain symptoms are recurrent in a very simple way, which means just using the same word, this word can be repeated 1,000 times in the repertory, pointing on the same aspect. So much that at the end is not important a burning pain in your stomach at 4 o'clock in the afternoon after you have a lemonade. It's much more important probably if you read this specific remedy that generally speaking your body is talking through burning sensation more than stinking sensation, more than coldness, more than whatever you want. Studying in this way, you can see that first of all you can reduce this huge material to few concepts which are much less. You can throw away a huge amount of symptoms which are just occasional symptoms of this patient and are not helping you at all to differentiate this remedy from another. And then, when you assemble this concept together, you can see that certain concepts of this are something that can be seen in the patients since the beginning of the life, arriving to the end. In other cases, those very clear concepts can be seen at a certain moment of his sufferings. I mean, if you have a clear problem of a poor structure of your identity, if you have a series of problems, of a gigantic sense of isolation and forsaken, very often the root of the stuff starts from the very beginning of your life as a dreadful experience, and it remains like a stamp in you from your first day of existence very often to the last one. And it can be expressed through many, many different symptoms. So when you can understand that certain topics like this are really fundamental to recognize a patient, those special themes, those very important fundamental themes, as I call it, is something that can be seen in a cat, in a turtle, in a horse, in a baby, in a boy, in an ancient woman, whatever you want.
When I started homeopathy, probably when you started too, we kind of learned 200-300 remedies, and we learned them really deep and really good, and we would knew days and nights of symptoms, 100 symptoms of Natrium muriaticum. And we prescribed with our repertory, with the materia medica, and of the knowledge. Now, you, after my opinion, have a huge amount of knowledge of little, small plant remedies, and thinking in families and thinking in, themes. Now we have an endless knowledge of these thousands of remedies. Do you see a danger to end up in Norwayland? And it's not so easy for a beginner now, like it was 20 years for you and me.
Yeah. What I say to my students, which just start to study homeopathy, you have to know the basis, as you have to know medicine, and little by little, if you are interested, you can grow. Mainly the idea of studying by family, I repeat, is a very basic, rational approach to try to define in a better way what you're doing. I mean, studying in terms of themes, of fundamental themes, clarifying, in my perspective, clearly what is the difference between pulsatilla and between silica. Okay? So, if the perspective is what is coming out from your ears in terms of pus, and so the perspective is trying to find out which remedies has passed from the hearing, it makes sense to say those remedies could be similar. If you study the deep side of those two remedies, everybody knows how much a real chronic pulsatilla case comes from a family with an enormous amount of support. They trust a lot in whatever is around them. They are so bound to this enormous sense of affection that they go on with entire life trying to repeat and to reproduce this. Try not to grow completely in order to guarantee the same kind of beautiful harmony around themselves. For silica, it is exactly the opposite. You start studying someone who never received something like that, and whose main strategy in all his life is to try to get control and to be in contact with very few little people which we can really only rely upon.
So what was fascinating you in the remedies? Why did you did a seminar, a book was written about it. What was your attraction?
And that it is so primary, so simple, so elementary, and so different from the way of living out of the water. So it was intriguing because it's like studying another planet, another dimension. Okay. For us as humans, it's impossible to live into the water. We are fascinated, we like to go dive, we like to observe, we like to study, but still the abyss is not known as many other parts of the universe. And it is a universe on this planet, not outside. So it's another dimension, let's say.